Hello and welcome to the Philly Fast Break podcast. I am Sean Kennedy. On the line with me, as he is every week, is our NFL handicapper Dan Erda. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. This is Thanksgiving week. We're recording this on Tuesday night. Before we talk about that and all the related football goodness that is coming our way over the holiday, I do want to thank our sponsor. That is JoannaPlatt.com. You can find that at Joanna-Platt, Platt.com for all your life and relationship coaching needs. You can also check out the podcast, Love Always Joe, available either through the website or on iTunes. Most recent episode is talking about having a heart-to-heart about the holidays. You know, Thanksgiving's 2 days away for us now as we're recording. Christmas right around the corner. You got to, manage different family stuff's going on. You got to balance the time with them, and we're going to talk football. We were going to watch football while Thanksgiving's going on, but still got to pay attention to the family. A lot of other stuff that causes some anxieties around the holiday season. So give that a listen. Thank you to JoannaPlatt.com for sponsoring as always. All right, now on the line with me is our NFL handicapper, Dan Erda. Dan, we talk about it every year. It's the three F's: football, food, family. Doesn't get much better than that, right?
Ah, wonderful time of year. I mean, my hot take, and I think I said this last year, and you called me out for being blasphemous. I don't love Thanksgiving. I don't love the food. It's not my kind of spread. I do like the football. I do like the family. In this year's case, it's the in-laws family, which I'm lucky enough to be one of the people who really enjoy spending time with my in-laws. So looking forward to that. But yeah, man, turkey, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, that stuff never did it for me.
Yeah, we talked about this last year, so we don't have to rehash it word for word, but you're crazy. The thing about Thanksgiving is, yeah, I don't like cranberry sauce either, but you know what? There's like 20 things on the table. You're bound to find 5 or 6 different things that you like. There's just too many options. I don't see how you can go wrong.
Well, that's a cool thing going to my in-laws this year. We've been going to my families a lot, and it's the same stuff every year. Sometimes you do have to add a little bit, like just the basics. It's the things that people bring, the surprises that really make it. Like I like turkey, so I always push for something cool, like a duck or something like that. Or maybe if someone has turkey in a chicken, a duck or something like that.
Yeah, hey, that'd be cool. I mean, remember John Madden, the old turducken, duck inside it's a chicken inside a duck inside a turkey. And then he'd whip that out for the players, and there'd be like 12 different drumsticks for everybody to chow down on. And that was good times. Yeah, it's always good to shake things up a little bit, get some new items on the menu. So yeah,
We got entertaining games on all day though. Good time with family. 2 days off of work, so really nothing to complain about.
exactly. Yeah, just can plop down on the couch, get in that turkey coma, and watch Colt McCoy, just like everybody been dreaming about all year.
Hey man, we're one injury away from Mark Sanchez playing on Thanksgiving where he belongs.
That was the butt fumble, right? That was on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's the butt fumble. People don't remember that. Like I think it was a year or two before that on Thanksgiving, he absolutely toasted the Cowboys when he was with the Eagles. Unfortunately, when you run into a lineman's butt and fumble, the good memories don't seem to stay in the public minds the way the butt fumble does.
No, butt fumble, that sticks. It's the branding is too strong. So, all right, Dan. Unfortunately, each of us went 1-2 last week in week 11, but new week, we're still both well over 500 on the year. So, we talked offline. You have 4 plays this week. I have 3, and why don't you and you're going to close out your 3-team teaser that you've had pending for a few weeks. So, why don't you fire away with your first play for the week 12?
Well, first off, I refuse to accept one of my losses last week. That New Orleans-Philadelphia over might be the worst loss in the last couple of years. I'm Stacey Abramsing this. I refuse to concede that loss.
All right,
Um,
listeners. So if you ever don't like that you lost, just tell your bookie you refuse to accept the loss, and we'll see how that plays out for you.
I demand a recount. There's that only. Okay, but the first play that I'm going to play this week is Carolina Panthers -3 at home. They're playing Seattle. Now, at the beginning of the year, you and I both talked that we thought Seattle was going to be somewhat of a train wreck this year, and they haven't been. They've actually been quite good, surprising some people. I still think they're playing way out of their minds, and you can do that when you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson. You can get away with a lot of things. But this is just a bad spot for them. They're playing the Panthers on the road. Panthers are coming off of 2 losses. The first one was in Pittsburgh on a short week. Somewhat understandable, although they did give up a crap ton of points, 52. Last week, losing against the Lions, it's kind of a bad loss. The kind of thing that you really want to, when you come home, you want to make a statement, and I think they're going to make a statement. In fact, the 2 sides that I'm going to be, or the 2 of the 3 sides I'm going to be playing are teams in a playoff position, but haven't looked too convincing as of late, and I think they're going to make a home statement. I like Cam. I really like what DJ Moore did last week. He kind of broke out, and I just look, how did we handicap Seattle back in August as an average team? And I still think just because they've looked good a couple times, they're still that. And we looked at this before we went on the air. Of all of the Panthers' wins, only one of them was by less than a field goal. I like them to cover here.
All right, and what was the line you had that at?
I got it at -3. It's looking around. 3s and 3.5s are out there. Always line shop because there are 3s.
All right, so Carolina -3. I don't necessarily have too much of a problem. I agree with you that Carolina is one of the better teams in the NFC, and they need a win here. They're at home, so they should win. I'm just staying away. I think Seattle's also been playing pretty well. They've kind of figured out what they're doing offensively. The running game has looked really solid. They got a new offensive line coach in there this year, and he has that unit working a lot better than years past. Chris Carson looks good. They got a couple. Penny had a good run when he got some carries 2 weeks ago, and then Mike Davis is also pretty serviceable as a backup. So they got a nice little 3-headed rushing attack, and Russell Wilson does just enough each week when they call upon him to keep it moving. I don't know. I kind of think this is going to be a close defensive game with both teams like to run the ball. So I don't like taking a favorite in that instance where I think it's going to be kind of a grinded out type game. But yeah, I agree with your angle, and I think Carolina should win this one. So 3s. It's not like it's a big line, so I don't really have a problem with it.
All
right, so Carolina -3 for Dan. My first play, I have a play on Thursday, Thanksgiving action. I'm taking Colt McCoy and the Washington Redskins, +7.5 in Dallas. I took Washington last week, getting 3. That was my only win. Colt McCoy threw a touchdown to Jordan Reed late in that one, and they covered, only losing by 2. My logic with this is, it wasn't like Alex Smith was throwing for 300 yards every week. He had a lot of weeks where he was around 200 yards, and their team has been built all season long around the running game and playing defense. So I expect, something similar here. They're going to continue to run the ball. They might get Chris Thompson back. They're saying that Jamison Crowder is definitely out, but there's a chance Thompson plays, so that would be a nice boost for them. But Peterson's been carrying the load and doing a good job. I just think 7.5 is way too high. It's a 40.5 total, so line makers expect this to be a very low scoring game. Washington's defense has been solid all season long. They're going to run the ball a lot. Dallas runs the ball a lot with Zeke Elliott. So I don't know, why is Dallas 7.5? I realize Colt McCoy isn't Alex Smith, but based on, it's not like Washington is the Saints and they throw the ball 35 or the Chiefs, or one of these high-flying offensive attacks that the drop-off from the starting quarterback to the backup would be some cause for the entire offense to change. Colt McCoy can hand off just as well as anybody else. So I think 7.5 is way too high. Dallas only one time this season has won by more than 7 points. That was when they beat Jacksonville 40-7. But all their other wins this year have been by 7 or less. So, yeah, it's just too high a line. I'm taking Washington +7.5. I'm not overreacting to the Alex Smith injury.
Yeah, I strongly leaned this way and almost made it a play myself. I like your side a lot. I just couldn't do it with Colt McCoy. It's one thing when McCoy comes in with the game going on, the other team hasn't practiced for him. He looked okay. I'm just a little bit worried that Dallas is going to be pumped up. It's Thanksgiving in Dallas. It's a tradition. They get a little bit extra juice. Logically, though, you make perfectly good sense. I almost took it. Ezekiel Elliott's been worked like a horse lately. You could definitely see in a short week him struggling a little bit. Yeah, all signs here point to Washington. And then just the fact that it's Dallas on Thanksgiving, where they know everyone in the world's going to be betting, so they probably shade that a half point to a point high for a team like Dallas, which is quote unquote America's team. I like your angle a lot. I'm just scared to bet on Colt McCoy on the road. That's the only reason it's not a play for me too.
Yeah, I actually like that. There's so much hype around Dallas right now. They're due for the classic, like Jason Garrett. What are you doing? Letdown game. There's too much optimism around them right now.
I hope so, because man, I do. I kind of like came to terms with the fact that it's a lost year for the Eagles and they're not going to win the division. But when I first thought that, I was like, at least Washington's going to win. I do not want to see Dallas in the playoffs.
Yeah, although most people probably want Dallas over Washington just because they're a more interesting team. If they somehow limped into the playoffs with Colt McCoy as their starter and they're going to just run the ball 30 times a game, that doesn't make for exciting playoff football. That's like the exact opposite of what we watched Monday night with the Rams and Chiefs.
I mean, back in 1994, that was called football.
Exactly. Yeah, get behind the Hogs. That's how Washington won a couple Super Bowls. All
Yeah,
right.
it's funny you hear all the old timers complaining about last night's game, saying there was no defense, not even paying attention to the fact that there were three defensive scores.
Yep. Yeah, it's the new NFL, and it's stylistically different, and I happen to prefer this style. So,
I love it too.
all right. So I'm taking Washington plus 7.5. All right. What's your next play, Dan?
All right, so with my Carolina pick, I was talking about a team that is has not looked good as of late, but is still in position to make a run to the playoffs in the NFC with a home game and a chance to make a statement. And I also trust the Minnesota Vikings to do that as well. They're 3 point favorite at home against Green Bay. As of right now, 74% of the bets are coming in on Green Bay, which isn't a reason to make a bet, but I sure as heck love it when that's the situation. Minnesota's a good team. They have a lot of talent. They have underperformed so far, but I feel like this is going to be a nightmare game for Green Bay. Green Bay's 4-5-1. One more loss, they can basically start packing it in, and I think this is going to be Mike McCarthy's swan song. You could tell there's just no chemistry right now between him and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers doesn't like the way he calls a game. Basically, if the fans had their way, he'd be out by now, but they've been holding on, hoping to turn the season around. I don't see it happening. I see Minnesota coming out and kind of doing to Green Bay what Chicago did to them last Sunday night and winning this game convincingly.
All right. So my only counter to Minnesota -3 would just be, Aaron Rodgers in prime time. I'm actually on this game as well. I'm taking the over at 48.
All right. I like it.
So Minnesota, against, you just mentioned their performance against Chicago. They played about as poorly offensively as you could possibly play, and they still limped their way to 20 points thanks to some, garbage time or whatever else, but they still got 20. Green Bay's defense is considerably worse than Chicago's, so I think Minnesota should be in the high 20s at the very least, if not the 30s. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers, he always gets it done in prime time. Not necessarily winning, but he keeps his team competitive. The offense should be able to put points on the board. So I don't know. I don't see how this isn't like at least a 28-21 type game, and that would barely go over. But if Green Bay sticks around and they put up a good fight, I could easily see this being like a 34-27 type game or 31-27. I was actually a little surprised this didn't hit 50. I thought 48 was pretty low for this line, so I'm taking the over there.
Yeah, I mean, that game we're talking about, the Bears game, that was a tedious game. It was a very defensive-minded game. It seemed like basically the opposite of the Monday night game, and they still ended up with 45 points scored. It's not that hard to score points nowadays, so keep on betting these overs until the totals are adjusted.
Yeah, definitely in a spot like this where you have two quarterbacks who can move the ball and passing attacks like these teams have. Aaron Jones has looked great. He's finally getting the full workload for running the ball for Green Bay. So I think they're a little more balanced. That should help them put up some points. Yeah, I just thought 48 was kind of low. I was surprised, so I'm taking the over there. Dan's taking Minnesota -3. All right, so that's two plays apiece for us there. What else do you have for us, Dan?
Um, the last side before I close out the three-team open teaser, and the negative aspect of the three-team open teasers is that it's what was it? It's been 5 weeks we've drawn this out over
Yeah.
for one play. The good news is they hardly ever lose. Um, but I'll give you the side first, and the side I like here is the Denver Broncos getting 3 points at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a little bit of a contrarian play. Public's going to be all over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh struggled against Jacksonville, but was able to eke out a win. I blame the coaching staff of Jacksonville for that. They absolutely should have won that game. And I can't say Denver's head coaching is much better, but I like this spot for them. It's at home in the altitude. You see how Ben Roethlisberger gets when the conditions surrounding him are less than comfortable. He starts just chucking the ball all over the place. He gets picked. And even more so than that, I love the fact that Denver's 4-6 and still technically right there in the playoff race. So this is going to be one of those kitchen sink games. They're going to be pulling everything out, pulling out all the stops, using every play in the playbook, and it's just the spot favors them, and it's a much more meaningful game for them. So to get a field goal at home, I will do that.
Yeah, I don't hate this. It's definitely the contrarian play, as you mentioned, and you could, in the back of your mind, you could see Pittsburgh just everything clicks and they score 40 because they've done that a few times this year. But they're definitely not the same team on the road, generally speaking. And they were very lucky to win against Jacksonville last week. If Jacksonville had any faith in their quarterback, they would have won that game easily. But they just, once they got up 16-0, they just ran the ball straight up the middle 3 times and punted for about 4 straight series. Yeah, so I agree it's the right side. Denver they've been playing tough, even games they lost. Like they've played tough at home against I think the Chiefs and
Yeah, they played tough home against the Chiefs. I think they were the first team to hand them against the spread loss.
yeah, and they played the Rams as well in a similar situation, right, where they lost but covered.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've been playing hard. They haven't given up on the season when they definitely could have. Yeah, I agree it's the right side. If I had to take a side, I would take Denver getting points at home. In the back of my mind, it's just like Pittsburgh's so much better. When everything's right for them, I could see them blowing this game open. But I agree with the points you made, and these are the kind of plays where you just have to suck it up and go against what your heart says, and just kind of look at the spot and what the number's telling you.
And Pittsburgh is a team that is prone to put up a clunker. I would not bet on, even though we said that they covered against the Chiefs. Right now, I wouldn't bet against the Chiefs. I wouldn't bet against the Saints in any situation. But as we saw last week, Pittsburgh, they're not a perfect football team, and we've seen that in years past too, especially when they are away from home and in what's kind of in their like uncomfortable circumstances, I guess you want to call it. In this case, being in Denver in the altitude, that's when they kind of struggle a little bit. So I might even play the money line here, but I'm happy getting the field goal.
Yeah, the only thing is like was last week the clunker for Pittsburgh, and now they kind of regroup from that. But yeah, like I said, I agree with the points you're making. It's just it was just not a spot for me just because of what I discussed. But all right.
Yeah.
Denver +3 for Dan. My third and final play for the week, it's another total. I'm taking under 46 in the New England-New York Jets game. Jets are at home for this one. Despite their absolutely abysmal performance the last time they played, which was against Buffalo, their defense has been okay this season. They're 12th in defensive DVOA. New England has been really struggling, especially on the road. They put up some real clunkers on the road this year. They looked bad last time out against Tennessee. They're coming off a bye, and they probably have Rob Gronkowski back this week. But yeah, I just don't think they've been the same highly efficient team we've come to expect offensively, and their defense has just been kind of middle of the pack. But against the Jets, where they haven't really had much going offensively ever since week 1 when they looked like they might be something this year when they beat Detroit. Yeah, they just haven't for the most part, they haven't been clicking on offensively. I don't see how the Jets score more than maybe 17 points at most this week. So if they get that, and suddenly you need New England to start approaching 30 or more for this over to hit. I don't think New England's going to do that. Like I said, they've been struggling on the road. The Jets defense is okay, and I think they probably it's one of those games where they do just enough to get the win. We'll probably see a lot more Sony Michel. He's a little more healthy coming out of the bye, so I expect to see them run the ball a lot. I kind of like the Jets getting points here as well, but I didn't take that just because they look so bad against Buffalo. But I do think it's a lower scoring game, like maybe a 27 to 16 type game, and I like under 46 here.
I don't know, man. Buffalo's beating the Vikings and the Bears, so maybe it means that they're a good team because they only beat good teams.
That means the Jets are a good team.
Dude, I almost took the points as well. I really, really wanted to. I'm just a little bit scared with New England coming off a bye. They played like absolute garbage the last time out. Gronk's back and supposedly healthier than he was in the past. Just a little bit worried that it's a classic Bill Belichick, run it up, take out all of the anger, and in doing so, they could make the total go over too. I mean, I could see them scoring 38 on their own here. That's the only reason. That's my only qualm with your play. That's the only reason I didn't take the Jets myself. An interesting way. I'm just thinking about this now, so this could be completely stupid, but I'm thinking out loud here. If you parlay the Pats and the over, and then also parlay the Jets and the under, I kind of like that because I can't. If the only way the game's going to go over is if New England completely blows them out, and if the Jets keep it close and cover, I can't see it going over. So I feel like if you make both of those parlays at plus money, there's a good chance of hitting. But that's a lot of points to play with there. That's the 9.5 point spread so big.
Yeah, I mean, I could very easily see this being like a 23-3 game or something, where the Jets just can't do anything offensively, and New England gets a couple score lead, and then they just run the ball the rest of the game and don't worry about anything else. So yeah, I wouldn't do that.
There was a system in college football with the bigger spreads, like with the Alabama type spreads, like the 45 to 50 point spreads. But there was like a system. There was something crazy like that, where if you parlayed the underdog and the under and the favorite and the over, like over the course of like 5 seasons, you could make so much money doing that. And then books caught on, and they stopped. Like you'd have to do it at different books. You can't parlay the same game like that at one book. And I'm not even sure if it is as profitable now as it once was. But in like the mid 2000s, people were killing that way.
Yeah, especially, I mean, college is a little different, where there's games that the teams aren't even in the same class of competition. So
I don't know, man. Citadel for a half against Alabama.
Yeah, they tied the game at 7, and everybody was going nuts.
They tied the game at 10.
Yeah, they what was the line on that one? Is like 60 something.
It was 51.5, I think, or 52.
Yeah. So hey, good for Citadel. They put up a good fight. So
They did.
Got to be proud of them. All right, but yeah, for all those reasons, I'm taking under 46 in the New England New York Jets game. All right, Dan, what else you got for us?
Only thing I have is we have a 3-team 10-point teaser that we started a while ago. There's been one spot left, and I've been waiting for an opportunity, a perfect opportunity, and that opportunity has presented itself. Right now, San Diego is -12 at home against Arizona. We're going to move that down to -2, and we should have an easy winner. We talked about last week. I kind of told you the one thing against I'm going to call them San Diego. I think I said San Diego earlier, but the Los Angeles Chargers. The one thing about them is, like, once a year they're going to have the Charger game where they just charger all over the place and blow a completely winnable game that they should win. They did that last week. I don't think they're going to do it 2 weeks in a row. I actually got a little bit hyped on Arizona and the new offensive coordinator and the young players, and that bit me in the rear end. They're trash. They're a bad team. They're on the road. They're going to lose. Chargers are going to win this game. I don't need to talk about it anymore because I don't need to. When you take 10 points off the spread, you don't really have to explain your reasoning why you think the Chargers are going to beat the Cardinals by 2 points.
Yeah, I definitely got chargered last week.
It happens.
And there's a while in that fourth quarter where I felt really good about my teasing it down to 1.5 because LA was up 2. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is just what I said. Like, I thought it was a little too high of a line, but they're definitely going to win. So I'm teasing it down to, I had them at -1.5. If they just won by 2, it would have been perfect. But of course, Rivers makes a weird play, and they give the ball back, and then they Case Keenum marches downfield for the game-winning field goal. But yeah, I don't see that happening 2 weeks in a row. I despite them charging me last week, I do think that all my reasoning for betting them last week stands here. I think they're one of the better teams in the league, so they should definitely handle business at home against the Cardinals. So again, I think that's an easy win for you to tease that down to -2. I thought something similar last week, so hopefully you don't get charged, but we'll see. Hey everyone, we lost the connection with Dan there, but we were all finished up with our picks, so I'm just going to give a quick recap of our plays. Dan took Carolina -3, Minnesota -3, Denver +3, and he closed out a 3-team open teaser, teasing the LA Chargers down to -2. I'm taking Washington +7.5, the under 46 in New England and the Jets, and over 48 between Green Bay and Minnesota. So thanks everybody for listening. I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and we will talk to you guys next week.